Good morning, traders. Welcome to the Bookmap Platform Details webinar. This is Bruce at Bookmap. Risk disclaimer: trading futures, equities, and digital currencies involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results. All right, so what we do in this webinar is we go through and introduce you to Bookmap, define what it is, who uses it, how to connect it, and how to get it. And then we'll jump into the user interface of the Bookmap platform in the live market, define the elements on the chart so you understand what you're looking at, and then we're going to start to analyze the order flow. Okay, that's the advantage that you get using Bookmap, is starting to understand due to our unique data visualization, the advantage or insight that other platforms just don't have. Okay, so anyway, let's get started and we'll look at bookmap.com, scroll down a bit. So what is Bookmap? We are a software trading platform. Okay, we have a unique way of visualizing the data, as I mentioned. That is our advantage here. I forgot to mention here that when you subscribe to Bookmap, I mean, it is software, but you do get education. Okay, that comes with it. All right, so let me go over this here, back to the home screen here. So there's an educational course, okay? It's a 4-part educational course. You also get access to the advanced order flow webinars that start in about a half hour. Now, those advanced order flow webinars support the education, but in the live market, and we analyze the live market and then start to anticipate where price might go. So you get the full educational package here. That's the idea. We won't leave you hanging with software that you don't know how to use. You can ask questions in that environment, really building community in that webinar and other channels as well. Okay. All right, let's jump back here. Oh, one more, interrupt you one more time here. There is another webinar today. Okay, now this is for US equities. It is at 1 p.m. Eastern time using Bookmap for equities. The link I just put into the chat box there for you so that you have that. You can register, join a free webinar down here, or you can also scroll down a bit and then click on the link here for sign up for a webinar. Okay, so 1 p.m. today. Okay. All right, now we'll jump back and we defined what Bookmap is. We're software. Okay, unique way of visualizing it, but we are a full functioning platform here. Okay, who uses Bookmap? Day traders, scalpers, swing traders, and quants. Okay, so really pretty much the gamut here. All sorts of traders. The reason being is because we can visualize the order book on much higher time frames. Well, it's accessible now to all these other traders, and I'll go through that when we start to look at the user interface and talk about the higher time frame. Okay, because it's very, very useful data here. Okay, we'll scroll down a bit. You can read more about getting the edge here. We're going to go through it in the webinar. Connectivity. Okay, so this is important because Bookmap is software. We're not a broker, nor are we a data provider. Okay, now we connect to 3 different types of markets: futures, US equities, and digital currencies. The data for the digital currencies is free, but for US equities and for futures, you will need to provide the data because we're just software. This is how you connect. For US equities, there's DX feed. Okay, that's the method that you can connect for those US equities. And if you want to know more about it, you can go to that DX feed webinar later today at 1 p.m. Eastern. Okay. Rhythmic. This is for futures. Okay, so all the rest that you see here are for futures data. Rhythmic, CQG, Gain Capital, Transact Data, IQ Feed, Nanotick, and Cedro. Now, many different connection methods here, but there's also an API of 3 different trading platforms: TTX Trader Pro, NinjaTrader, and Interactive Brokers Traders Workstation. You can connect via the API of those 3 platforms. So you have that option as well. Okay, it is recommended though to connect directly to the data provider, just like any other regular platform like Rhythmic or CQG. Okay, some testimonials. We'll go a little bit further down here. The Bookmap packages and pricing. You can subscribe yearly here, or you can click here and subscribe monthly. Okay, You get a little bit of a discount if you subscribe yearly. Now you can see the different packages. There's 2 for digital and there's 2 for global. Let's define what they are. For the 2 for digital are only for digital currencies. For global, it's for all the markets. Okay, so you can see that the digital version over here is free. It allows you to connect to just one digital currency at a time. Okay, but the data is free and that market is always open, so you can always check out a live market. Now, if you're an equities trader, you also get a delayed feed here for US equities. And if you're a futures trader, well, there are some downloaded replay files that come with the software, and you can replay the data. However, if you're equities or futures trader and you want to connect to the live market, just try Bookmap Global for a month. That would be the easiest way. You can cancel at any time, and at least it gives you a really good insight to what Bookmap has to offer, and take it from there. Okay, you can always cancel and then resubscribe monthly, yearly, however you like. Okay, so that's the Bookmap digital version. The digital plus version, okay, you will need to subscribe to, $37 a month. And what this allows is the ability to trade from the Bookmap chart, okay, into a GDEX or BitMEX account. You get full depth of data, and you can record and replay that data, and you get multiple instruments. Instead of 1, you get 20, okay, for each different market. Okay, so for 20 for GDEX, 20 for BitMEX, for example. You also get access to that advanced education that I mentioned earlier. Now, the Bookmap Global version, the big distinction here between global and digital is that global allows you to connect to futures and US equities. Okay, that's it. Okay, so the Bookmap Global version, if that's the kind of trader that you are with US equities or futures, then this is the cheapest version that you can get here. Okay, the next version up is the Bookmap Global Plus. What this offers is quite a bit more. Okay, you can trade right from the Bookmap chart into a live trading account. Okay, this is a real big benefit because you have the heat map in front of you. Therefore, you can front run high liquidity for higher probability of getting filled, and hide your stops behind high liquidity for higher probability of not getting stopped out. We also have several proprietary indicators that we developed that look at very specific order flow phenomena. For example, our large lot tracker. This allows us to see larger players in the order book who are holding the majority of liquidity at those specific price levels. If you have questions, I can go through more of this, so just let me know. Some imbalance indicators for both the book and for volume. An iceberg detector, very popular one, looking at, again, larger players that they're not showing their liquidity in the order book. Okay, they're hiding it. They don't want to show their position, but our algo can detect when iceberg orders are hit. Okay, and then a correlation tracker. So when adding different correlated markets onto the Bookmap chart. This has been a really good one for the advanced order flow webinars that we've been going through. So all 3 subscription versions here, you get the advanced education that comes with it. Now, that advanced education, if you guys are interested, tomorrow during this webinar, I will give you the free link to the advanced order flow webinar. So you can check out and see what we do in that live environment, okay? And just to get a taste of the education that comes with Bookmap. All right, let's go through a few resources and then we'll look in the live markets here. Some featured blog posts here you might wanna check out. And then we have a Twitter feed. You might wanna follow us on Twitter. All sorts of new information here. At bookmap_pro. You can see there's a new interview that we have here with Carlos Martinez, a futures trader, and our YouTube page as well. All sorts of videos here. If you're new, I would recommend on the homepage here checking out the playlist for the Bookmap intro videos. If you want to continue here, it's all the different features and components here in Bookmap, some selected webinars, and some order flow video snippets. These I think you'll find the most helpful. Okay, because this is the kind of order flow phenomena that Bookmap uncovers, right? So this is exactly what we go through in the advanced order flow webinars, but we go through many different aspects, okay? Is there a discount for the yearly subscription for Global Plus, Jerry? Yes, there is. So let's go back here. You can see it here. You can see the 49 bucks, for example, for Bookmap Global, 99 for the Global Plus. Click on yearly, you get it for 39 or 79. Okay. All right. All right, we've gone through everything. Let's jump into live market and check out and see what's going on. Okay, we're looking at the Bookmap or the NASDAQ here. Okay, we've rolled over to the Z contract and we're bullish. We are taking a look here and we can see the 9:30 open here. We see the consolidation pre-market. Look at the volume really picks up back and forth here, but we break out. Okay, we break out of where? Right here, the high. Okay, at 75.85, and look at the volume that we broke out on. Okay, it's strong. This is a strong move. We had a pullback just recently here, all the way back to 75.85, a little bit below it. Okay, and the bulls came right back in. Okay, we are accepting above 75.85, and this is a bullish at this point. Okay, until we see something different. Bigger picture here is bullish. Okay, now let me take off some of these add-on indicators so that we don't get really confused with everything here. We have a historical POC, a VWAP. We can turn off our icebergs, and then you can see this CVD subchart here. We're going to close that up as well. Okay, so just looking at a very basic chart here. In fact, let's clear our drawings as well so we don't get confused. All right, so let's define these elements on the Bookmap chart. What are we looking at here? Could look rather confusing if you're new here. It's actually really simple, straightforward data. Okay, very, very objective data here. In fact, the concepts or understanding this data is much easier than just understanding concepts of some of the indicators or even candlesticks, for example. Okay, why is that? Because we're not aggregating any data. We're just showing you what the market did very precisely. Okay, but you can see we can zoom out and see and still use everything on much higher time frames. Okay, so for example, we're going to cover the first element on this Bookmap chart is the heat map. Okay, because this is the one that causes probably the most confusion because most traders have not had access to this kind of data and the advantage that it brings. Okay, so what is this heat map? Okay, what am I talking about with the heat map? Well, it's this orange, blue, yellow kind of colored heat map that you see here. Okay, this is occurring with price and outside of price. This is where they're bidding and offering. Okay, if it's above current price or above price here, well, they're on the offer. They want to be sellers. If it's below, they want to be buyers. So let's zoom into the current market here, and I'll define these elements here. Okay, so this vertical white line here, this separates the historical market to the left, okay, what just occurred, and the current market here to the right. Okay, so here's your best bid and offer here. Here's your last traded volume. This is your price ladder. Okay, and then we're going to cover the COB column here. What is it? It's liquidity. It stands for current order book. This is your DOM, your depth of market. These numeric values here, they're contracts. Okay, how many contracts are at these specific price levels? These are sellers. They're lining up in the auction to sell at these specific price levels. Down below, they're on the bid. Okay, this is what makes the market. Okay, is the auction. Right now, you can see that these numbers dramatically shift and change all the time. Okay, we're seeing it already right now as we're coming down into this 95 level here. All right, so what occurs in your DOM, your depth of market, is you'll see those numbers change radically. Okay, well, when they change, then you've just lost what happened there before, and you'll have to remember what happened at some of those areas. That can be rather challenging because there's a lot of questions and a lot of details to understand at some of these levels. Are they pulling? Are other levels pulling? Are they adding lower, etc.? Okay, so when they pull liquidity, you'll see the number go down and you'll see the heat map change in color. Okay, the scale is up here. Red or orange is the highest amount of liquidity. Okay, and then yellow, then white, blue, followed by black as being the least amount of liquidity. Okay, so we immediately know by looking at the heat map in this current market window here, okay, where the majority of the players are. Okay, in the auction. See how they're up here at between 97 and 98, and they're pulling here. Okay, they're pulling and adding back in. So now we have more information. We see these numbers change, and then you'll see the reflection in the heat map here. Okay, but the interesting part is we record it and we place it on the chart now historically. That's what you're looking at in the heat map. Okay, what this allows you to do is start to understand these levels here on both bid and offer of the context of the auction. Okay, so these guys up here at 97, okay, you don't have to remember this number any longer and see it change and fluctuate. Here it is. We know, and are they interested in trading up here? No, they're not. They're pulling. They were adding and pulling back in. In general, they're not really interested. In fact, now they're not interested at all here at 97. They're up here at 98. Okay. Very, very simple, easy to read graphically here. Okay, what's the behavior here? See how they're pulling and adding up again at 7,600 the figure. Okay, and what's the behavior on the bid? Well, see how they're bidding up at some of these areas. They're starting to chase the market. Look at this guy, just came in here and skewed the book at 95 here with 103 contracts. It's red, highest liquidity in the book by far right now. Okay, and has it had an effect on price? Not really. In fact, it's actually starting to, well, it was starting to attract some sellers here. So looking kind of for a sideways market here at the moment. Okay, and here they come. Now we can answer some very, very specific questions here because this is important in being able to understand this auction. Okay, did this player at 95, did he have the intent to trade? Okay. Or was this liquidity something that was maybe a red herring here? Okay, it was a red herring. He pulled his liquidity. He does not want to trade. Okay, it's not that it's fake. It's just that he doesn't want to trade here. It looked like he wanted to trade, but he really doesn't. Okay, so maybe his game was something different. Maybe he's trying to skew the auction, show lots of demand up at a higher area to try to get price to go higher. Okay? And in the end, he doesn't want to trade. Okay? We know that because he pulled. If he wanted to trade, it would have traded. For example, well, let's make that distinction. Where did they want to trade? Look at this guy up here. Okay? This is what it looks like when they have the intent to trade. We go right into this area of high liquidity. Okay? There were 55 contracts here. Okay? And if I zoom out a little bit, we see 55 actually traded altogether. Right? See it trade right into that high liquidity. Okay, so there's the big distinction. This larger player here, he is short. Okay, these traders down here, they're not even in the market. All right. So now we're starting to understand and gauge where people want to deal. Look down here at 75.90. Okay, and it looks like they actually just traded. Yep. Okay, 41 contracts out of 50 that were here earlier. Some of it pulled. You see how the heat map changed as price started to come down toward it. So they had, so we should put it this way then. This was kind of like they had partial interest to trade here at this level, okay? But look how we're starting to put the pieces together where they are trading, and we're starting to see, we did get follow through to the downside here, not much, okay? But the bulls came back in and raised price right back up. Now it looks like similar behavior of that other player that was here earlier at our area where they didn't want to trade earlier, okay? That high liquidity, those 100 contracts or so. Well, now it's a lot more. Now it's 179 contracts here, okay? So we're really starting to understand without looking at really looking at volume or even microstructure at the moment, but we're really starting to understand what's going on in the auction. Okay, putting all of these kind of details together, Okay, and understanding, and just think of this just like an auction. Jerry, time frame that I'm looking at, there is no time frame here. Okay, this is just the market. Okay, what you're talking about is aggregated data. So let me use that as a segue to move on into best bid and offer. So we went through the details here in the heat map, and you understand what you're looking at here. There's one more thing I just want to cover on this heat map. We've been looking at this very, very recent historical and current market with the heat map. Let's zoom out. Now you can start to use this heat map on much, much higher time frames. This is a real nice benefit. Okay, look at the higher liquidity up here at this area. These players had, and this was all live. I have full depth of market. Okay, not just 10 or 20 levels. This was, I have all of my levels as being live. Okay, and look, this area here and then this area up here. Okay, that's where price went to. Okay, and it's starting to kind of, well, it's not reversing, I would say, yet. And some microstructures up here is reversing. And we're just coming down into our 85 level that we were looking at the very beginning of the webinar here. Okay? Or maybe it was I looking at in the previous webinar. This little area here and the strong move above it is bullish. Okay. Anyway, what we can start to gather here on this much higher time frame is where they want to deal. Okay, because it's all recorded. Here it is, you can start to see where actually traders trade through that high liquidity. So for example here, high liquidity here on the bid, but they trade through it. And they trade through it pretty aggressively, right? Not only through 90, but all the way up to 7,600, the figure, where there were larger players here for quite a while waiting to trade, okay? And it looks like they all transacted here, okay? And we still found more buyers and moved to the upside here. All right, so higher time frame, you can use now the order book on those much higher time frames. All right, now let's get into this question on the time frame that I'm looking at here. Okay, there really is no time frame, why is that? Well, let me use a candlestick here as a, and actually I'm going to take off the heat map here just to make things a little simpler to look at. Okay, so this is a 5-minute candlestick chart. Okay, these are 5-minute periods. This is the time frame. That's what the question is about. What is the time frame here? Now we're looking at 5 minutes of data. Okay, for each, we can zoom out, but we're still looking at 5 minutes of data for each candle. Okay, it's aggregated within that period though, and this is a problem. Okay, because it's aggregated data. What do I mean by aggregated data? Between this candle and this candle, we can't see any of this price action. We can't see the volume. We don't know where the volume traded, how much, what type, exactly where it did in this candle. We don't have that data. Okay? If you have a footprint chart, you have that data. However, you don't have access to a microstructure, these breakouts, very quick breakouts, little areas here, little swings that break down. Okay, very critical stuff, because look at the breakdown here. Here's a retest back up to it right here, and it broke down further. Okay, this kind of microstructural detail is, you can use it for your trading, you can use it for your analysis, there's ways to scalp it, all sorts of details here that you just don't get looking at aggregated data. Okay, so let me zoom in, and Jerry will really answer the question here. Okay, so there really is no time frame here. It's just how the best bid and offer unfolded, okay, over time, and that's it. Okay, so here we're looking at each vertical dotted line here is 30 seconds of data. Okay, we'll zoom in more. Okay, and we'll continue to zoom in here. Okay, now here are the other two elements on the Bookmap chart. Okay, that best bid and offer, okay, that I mentioned, and then the volume dots here that traded on the best bid and offer. Okay, so it's not a time frame. So here's the best offer is the red line, best bid is the green line. Okay, and this is really what occurred. You see the spread widened out here. You see the transactions that took place. Let's zoom into this little area here because we see a flurry of activity. Okay, this is really what occurred here. Okay, in this market. Now we're looking at millions of seconds here. Okay, we're really sub-second level here. We can continue on and we can look at billions of seconds. We can start to understand precisely what traded here. Okay, you want the volume data, you can use your data tip tool. You can zoom into these areas here, and you can see precisely what traded. The date, the time here, down, the timestamp is down to the millisecond, what was on the ask at the price level, and then the volume it traded at that price level. So this dot here is the aggressor that ends for a volume of 5. We're always showing aggressor volume. What do I mean by that? It's market buys and market sells. They cross the spread, they take liquidity. They don't provide it, they take it off of the best offer. That is the aggressor, okay? These are aggressive market buy orders. The red is a sell order that takes liquidity off of the best bid. Okay, so there you go. In terms of that time frame, it's just how the market unfolded. Okay, no aggregated data. Okay, now you also note though, there is an aggregation here in this volume, in these volume dots here. As you start to zoom out, it just turns into a bigger dot. Why is that? Because we're at those, we're looking at millions of seconds. So we're not really trading off of those levels, right? So unless you are trading algorithmically, then you really can't consume that data. But now if we zoom out, we can, because we'll consolidate it into a bigger dot. Okay, this big dot here, for example, the size obviously is, there's more contracts traded here compared to smaller dots. Okay, we know that it's a buy order because we see that it's all green here. Okay, all right. So again, those details here in this microstructure, okay, this is what non-aggregated data allows you to do, is see microstructure. Okay, so for example, look at the higher highs, more volume trading at higher highs up here. Okay, it's starting to wane though up here. See how there's not as much trading up here? Okay, there's a little bit here. Okay, it's still a little bit here, but not. It's really not like, we want to see more like this. We want to see more volume trading at higher highs to continue the trend. Okay, that's why we start to slow down here. Okay, and you can see that the sellers start to trade more now at lower highs. Okay, they exhausted out here on the higher highs and the higher lows here. Okay, really starting to understand microstructure, okay, in trending environments. This is going to really allow you to optimize your trading, really get into to the tick type of areas here for your entries, exits, and trade management. Okay, here we're starting to see maybe some cracks in this little micro trend. Okay, looking for it to come back down and maybe test this high volume node or where it broke from down here. Okay, we actually get both because it does trade here. It does bounce, okay, but it bounces back up into where it broke from here, and there's no buyers up here. Okay, we start to rotate back down exactly where it broke from, and then we start to note that, well, we go sideways for a bit, but sellers take really control here, and you can see the follow through, right? All right, so those are the 3 elements on the Bookmap chart. We went through some of the basic understanding or concepts here in reading the order flow, okay? Microstructure, trend, okay? We can zoom out and look at on macro structure. It's all the same stuff. Okay, so let me get rid of this candlestick chart. Okay, and what do I mean by on the macro view here? Okay, well, look at higher highs. Same thing that we just covered, right? Okay, more volume at higher highs. Here it's a little, it's back and forth. Okay, so it's starting to shift. Now that's at the open here. There's usually a lot of volume here at open. So we didn't really have too much insight here in terms of volume at the open. Okay, now if we put the heat map on, now we're looking at the complete picture of the auction and the tape, okay, where the transactions took place, right? Here's a very strong breakout, several points, more buy volume. We see continuation here, okay, but then we don't get continuation back up into this area here. In fact, we're still accepting though above 85, and that is bullish, okay, at this point. All right, guys. Well, that's all I have for you today. I'll share this with you here, the DX feed webinar. If you are interested in Bookmap for U.S. equities, let me put this into the chat for you. Okay, for those of you who came in late, there you go. So you can register there. and check out what Bookmap for equities looks like. Really good stuff in that webinar, to be honest, because you know, if you look at oh, you're welcome, Jerry. Let's just take a look at Tesla, for example. Just quick example, just to zoom out here. See how the larger players really stick out here in the US equities. You can see very clearly where they are. Okay, they layer in. You see how they're layered in at 298, 299, 300. Okay, the figure here, etc. So you can really start to understand the auction and the aggressor together. Okay, all right, guys. Yeah, thanks for coming, and don't forget tomorrow. The 1 o'clock webinar, and then tomorrow I'll give you the link to the advanced order flow webinar.